I'm Rick Fulbaum. You can find me on Twitter at Rick Fulbaum, and this is FoxNews.com Live, and it's Fox Tech Take. And we're talking about how social media is being used by pretty much everybody, especially when it comes to the Olympic Games, how viewers are using social media to keep up with the results, how athletes are using social media to correspond with their fans around the world, and how in some cases athletes are getting themselves into trouble for their use of things like Twitter, for example. Joining us now is James Andrews. He's the owner and partner of Social People, and you can find him on Twitter at Social People TV, and he is joining us live from London. Nice to talk to you, James. Thanks for being here.
How are you?
Doing great, thank you. And Shama Hyder is with us as well, the author of The Zen of Social Media Marketing. You can find her on Twitter at Shama, S-H-A-M-A. Hi, Shama. Nice to talk to you.
A pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's first talk about some of the good when it comes to social media and how, as I said, athletes and fans and even politicians. We saw some politicians there taking to Twitter to congratulate the various medal winners from different countries around the world. Talk to us about this, James, because the last time there were Olympics, there was not as much of a following when it came to social media.
Yeah, we think about 2008, we were talking about Facebook at about 100 million followers and you know, people that congregate in the world of Facebook. Today we're talking about 900 million people. It's a platform that's here to stay. You know, you know, when you talk about social media, we're also talking about Twitter. You know, during the last Olympics, we're talking about, you know, an explosion of 6 million to 150 million. So when you have these platforms, you're naturally going to have tons and tons of dialogue, and I think we're seeing it here in London, and we're seeing, you know, live conversations which are rocking the way that television is being viewed and the way that fans experience something like the Olympics.
Shama, what are you noticing as you look at the way that the Olympics has sort of found a home in the world of social media and marketing?
Well, I think social media is such a great tool to allow people to engage, and that's what we see a lot more of, is this high level of engagement between athletes and between viewers at home and between, you know, people actually there in London at the event, and that's really bringing us closer. So you see a lot of people talk about the Olympics as if they're there, or they feel so much more connected, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
I would agree, and the only complaint that I have is while I have sort of my tweet deck up in my office while I'm working, I'm getting all of the results, even though I'm trying to tune it out and focus on my work so that I can watch some of the coverage when I get home later and be a little bit surprised. That's part of this, James, is that you can't really escape the results in real time, even though a lot of the televised Olympic events are happening later on. They're on tape delay here in the States.
Yet your business, TV, has changed drastically because of social media. You know, it's been happening for a while. Most live events have now been drastically changed because people have a dialogue while the show is happening. What's happening with the Olympics are that people are very excited. People are driving conversations. They want to share their enthusiasm, and we're living on two different time zones. I'm living on GMT and I'm on EST. And so there's sort of a challenge between when the broadcasters in the U.S. want to broadcast the games and when those of us here in the U.K. want to talk about what's happening here.
There's a chatter in our chat room, Shama. This is Glenn from Sacramento, who says that being in California, if I followed the Olympics, I would get the results hours before they come on TV. Do you see people purposely tuning out social media so that they don't get those results ahead of time?
We are, and I think that's what makes this so special, is that you can choose, right? So you can choose to tune in later and say, you know, I'm going to put this away and I want to see it on TV, or you can say, I really want to know what's going on right now and I don't want to wait. So I think it's wonderful that people have choices, and that's what social media allows us to do.
And we want to mention some of the things that have gotten some athletes in trouble, James, including this athlete from Greece who has suspended. They were actually two athletes who were kicked out of the games by their own countries for putting out racist tweets, including this, I believe, was she a rower or what was she? A triple jumper who wrote some things about Africans and West Nile mosquitoes,
Yeah.
and and then she doubled down. It's not like she went on and apologized. Her next tweet came out and said, "Well, that's how I am. I'm not a CD to get stuck, and if I make a mistake, I don't press the replay. I press play and I move on." And there she is, Vula Papa Cristo. So Twitter can get you in trouble, can't it?
Oh, Vula. She's learning like all of us, right? All of us have made mistakes, including myself. The reality is that Twitter is a platform for brands, for personal brands, and it is part of the internet's unescapable memory. What you put out there is there for everybody to see. And these athletes, I've talked to several of them here in London, they are using Twitter to build their following, to talk to their fans, to take their fans along a journey, and they're garnering huge, huge followings. And many of them are not as sophisticated maybe as the NBA players or the NFL players in the States. And so what they're learning is that they actually have a media channel, at 100,000 followers, 130,000 followers, 15,000 followers. You have a media channel, and unfortunately, poor Vula learned that you can't say those things, and that's your brand now.
Shama, let's go back to to NBC and, of course, the network that's televising the games, that has the rights to the Olympics here in the United States, and their decision, which has been so criticized by so many different people, to hold off on broadcasting some of the main events, some of the most popular events like swimming and women's gymnastics, for example, until later on, putting them on in the prime time hours when people are home from work. And NBC says, look, we pay a lot of money for the broadcast rights. We certainly need to get some bang for our buck, and the way that we can do that is by putting these events on at night when we can charge the most amount of money for the advertising that we can play during those games. What do you think about NBC's decision? Is it good or bad, and what should people who don't like it, what would you want to tell them?
I think networks have to think also more about, it's fine to think about prime time and dollars, but you also have to think about the goodwill that you are trying to collect from your viewers and try to build these long-term relationships. And it's sad to see what's going on now, because you can see a lot of people feeling disengaged by NBC's tactics and saying, thinking that they're putting profits ahead of making sure that people are getting what they want. And so I think it's interesting because these games are the first real games which are very social. So networks are learning just along with everybody else. What does it mean to be a part of this social landscape? How do you balance the fact that you get more money from advertisers at a certain time and balance that out with people just being disgusted and turning their television sets off? I think right now, though, people have a lot of choices, and I would encourage them to focus on that and look at all the different ways that you can follow the games and be engaged and fully get that experience and choose the platform that works best for you to be able to do that. What
do you think, James? I mean, I think people who are griping about this, they need to get over it, because the truth is, for a lot of folks, we're at work during the day. We can't watch. I don't want to miss women's gymnastics. I don't want to miss some of these real popular sports. But the truth is that if they are broadcast live, I won't be able to see them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we would shut down our economy if we were watching, huge gymnastics or track and field or any of these events. Turn off social media, turn off your tweet feed. It's also word of mouth marketing. You're bound to run into, if you're in New York City, you're bound to hear it on somebody on a subway, right? So that's the reality of where we live. And again, maybe the networks can come up with another strategy for next year, but this is the reality. Next Olympics will be in Brazil. But we're still going to see this idea that we are broadcasting in many, many different times, and the people have the power. They have the choice to engage when they want to, and that's how they're engaging.
Shama, we're about to enter week 2 of these summer games. What are you looking out for the remainder of the Olympic Games, and as it relates to social media?
I think it'll be interesting because I feel like where things are going to simmer down a little bit, at least from sort of the gaffes that we've seen people make in the beginning. And I think we're not going to see, I would venture to say we're not going to see athletes make some of the same mistakes that they've seen their colleagues make. I think we've sort of hit our stride in saying, this is a platform, we're learning to see how this evolves. But I think people will make the most of it. And just like James said, it's all about picking what makes sense for you, choosing your platforms, and engaging with them so you make the most of this experience.
James, I'll give you the last word. I'm jealous that you're out there. Are you out there for the next week too?
Yeah, well, I'm coming home soon. I'll see you soon, Mom. But I'm excited about the next week, moving into some of these higher profile events. I'm excited about the athletes that are taking a stand against Rule 40 and using Twitter to do that. I'm not just excited, for those athletes that'll take this. There's so much that these athletes are going through, and I've had several conversations with athletes about Rule 40, and so I'm really looking forward to the personal stance that they're taking against the IOC on Twitter, mainly the U.S. track team, against Rule 40. And so I'm excited about that, but I'm also looking for more emotional moments and more emotional tweets as these athletes get put on a higher stage. And I just really enjoyed my time here. I've met so many wonderful athletes, and it's an amazing experience to be here in the Olympics.
James Andrews is the owner and partner of Social People. You can find them on Twitter at Social People TV. And Shama Hyder is author of a book called The Zen of Social Media Marketing. There is the cover of her book, and you can find her on Twitter at Shama. Thank you both. Nice discussion. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.